Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to this Wednesday edition here of the Roto Grinders Daily Fantasy Fix podcast. We are presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel.com. FanDuel tonight, I'd say it's a pretty big night over at FanDuel. We got a $1 million slam in that lobby. So if you want to have a chance at taking a piece of that $1 million, it's a $25 buy-in tonight. And I've got 10 tickets into it. I'll probably fire another 10 or 20 lineups in to see if I can't bink something up here. Big congrats to the clone last night, by the way, was the winner of that $1 million tournament over on DraftKings. Man, he's a tough NBA player. But $200K first place today over on FanDuel for this Mega Slam. So check that out. If that's a little bit too rich for your blood, $300K in the NBA shot. And believe it or not, we're only a day away from the next NFL slate starting up. And gosh, man, tell you what, joining me today, we've got Hoop, we've got Big T. It's a Wednesday, and we're talking some basketball with these guys. Before we do that, though, fellas, the one thing that I noticed, and we've seen there's been a lot of reports about like ratings for NFL football and how it's dropped. The NFL has to be regretting running these like Thursday night football throughout the entire year. I don't know about you guys, but it just feels like there's way too much of it on TV, and it sounds like a weird thing to say, and I know daily fantasy sites and players might like it because it's more slates for us to play, but man, when you consider it, we literally have only like 2 days a week, it seems, of a break here on Tuesday and Wednesday before the next week starts. I think it's just football overload. What do you think, Hoop?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the games on primetime have sucked. I mean, the team, they keep rolling out the Bears. I mean, the Vikings obviously have this good defense, but they're not fun to watch. And you just look at the teams. There's not that many fun, exciting teams to watch. I mean, people want to watch the Patriots. People want to watch the Steelers. Well, now they don't want to watch the Steelers with Big Ben hurt. There's been a ton of injuries. I think it's a combination of not that many fun, exciting teams and the injuries. I mean, when these running backs, just get hurt week in and week out, it's just not very exciting to watch a lot of these teams. I think that's the main problem.
I think that's part of it. And I think the other part, too, is, the no fun league. I know it's kind of a stupid play on words, Tony, but, man, like, I long for the days when we had Joe Horn going underneath the goalpost to grab the cell phone and make a phone call, or T.O., autographing the football and handing it off in the stands. And I think they've just gone way too far. I mean, Brandon Cooks can't even do his bow and arrow celebration anymore without getting like a 15-yard penalty. It's just ridiculous. Like, I mean, at some point in time, don't the owners just have to wake up and realize, like, you know what? Commish, you made us a lot of money. You did a good job. We're rich because of you. But the league is evolving. Let's evolve ourselves, and let's start making some changes, because he's not the one that needs to kind of take this league into the next era, because he clearly has no idea what's desirable and what fans want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that some of the rules they do, like, you should be able to, I'm the type of guy that loves the taunt. I mean, just ask Hoop after the finals last year when I got all those Hoop bucks. But, I think if you're not, like, doing it in another player's face, like the bow and arrow, for example, like, he's doing it in the end zone by himself. Like, what in the world is wrong with that? Like, I just don't get it. I'm completely on board with you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we need to be it doesn't need to be the XFL, the WWE football, but, man, they need to have a little bit more fun in football, and I think that's a big problem. But, all right, we're here to talk some daily fantasy. We got Hoops here tonight to jump on a huge slate. Tony, I'm impressed you made it up with us tonight. Is it true that you grinded out that World Series of Poker last night?
Oh, I did. Absolutely. There were some, I didn't even get it on until about 2 or 3, but yeah, I grinded it out. There were some good hands.
Oh, you stayed up till like 4 in the morning watching poker.
I had some other stuff going on too, but yeah. It wasn't bad. I got a cold, though. You can probably tell with my voice. It's a disaster talking here.
Well, that's what happens when you go Big T life and, head out to the World Series and to ring ceremonies and staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching poker.
By the way, that's another topic. Well, I don't think it was Hoop, but someone was telling me I can't get a cold from going in the cold weather. Like, how does someone argue that with me?
I would think you can.
That wasn't
Hoop?
you, was it, Hoop?
Was not me.
Someone was arguing it with me. I'm like, how can
I live in Michigan. I fully understand that. It's the change of seasons. It's like
I got sick after that game. How could it not be the cold weather?
I mean, aren't both of your wives nurses? Am I wrong with that?
You're correct.
So there you go.
You got to get your lady to take care of you, Tony.
That's a good point.
That's a good. But I don't know. Poker on television. It's till 4 a.m. watching two guys play heads up.
Marbles, though. You got to respect the champion of the year, like the best in the business.
Hoop, did you watch any poker yesterday?
Hoop was in bed by 8:30.
That's why I got a full bill of health over here, because I didn't stay up till 4 a.m. watching poker.
All right, let's get to tonight in the NBA. Again, full slate for us. We're going to go positional. We're going to use FanDuel as our reference. Again, if you haven't signed up over on FanDuel, or if you've got an account already and you want some of our premium content, be sure to check it out. We've got a 7-day free trial, and that actually includes both NBA and NFL and hockey. So you get everything on that 7-day free trial. And then I think it's like $25 a month moving forward, and that includes all the content there for FanDuel. So definitely give that a try if you haven't looked already. I think some of the premium content can certainly help you, especially in a sport like hoops, where obviously we got a lot of stuff happening this time of year. And let's start at the point guard position here, fellas. And we'll get to Russell Westbrook. Well, let's start with Russell Westbrook. Incredible so far this season. Triple-double in 2 of 3, I believe it is. Let me double check here. 2 of 3, and missed one assist in the opener. Otherwise, he would have a triple-double in all 3 games. The usage, get these usage numbers the first 3 games. 43%, 54%, and 34%. Absolutely insane. But Hoopy comes in at $12K today, and he gets Chris Paul. I was doing some roster builds, and clearly you got the 3 big dogs today, Russ, Harden, and Anthony Davis. But unlike the opener, they're not quite in as good of spots as we've seen so far in terms of matchup. And here with Westbrook, he gets Chris Paul tonight. Does that worry you at all?
No, not at all, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's at the point now with that usage and everything else working in his favor that I just can't be worried about some of these matchups. I mean, not in the ideal spot. Obviously, I like him going against like the 76ers or a team like that, but $12K still way too cheap for a guy that's going to have a usage rate over 40%, and he's just doing absolutely everything on the court. So $12K still way too cheap for me. Not necessarily building around him. I think it might not be the optimal build to put him in your lineups today, but he's too cheap.
But I mean, the fact, I guess the question is, where do they rank for you? Westbrook, Harden, and Anthony Davis today? Because I literally tried to build a lineup with those 3 guys in there, and it's slim pickings. You can't really do it. It leaves you at like 4K per position, and you need 70 fantasy point games from all 3 of those guys, which are possible. But then you'd also have to hope that your 4K crappers don't tank. Tony, how you rank those 3? Westbrook, Harden, and Davis. If you got to drop one, and let's bring salary into the equation here too, because that's part of how we handicap DFS. How do you rank those guys today?
It's just a side point too, but wasn't Westbrook 13K last game? Why did he go back down to 12?
I
don't know.
That's too cheap.
That's just weird. I mean, I don't know why he went to 13 and then back to 12 after he went off, but I'd probably rank him even in the tough matchup. I'd probably say Westbrook, just because the other 2 are on a back-to-back. Even though it's early in the year, it's just a slight boost to Westbrook. So I'd probably put him number 1. I'd probably put AD number 2 just because the power forward, and then Harden number 3. But I mean, they're all so close. We saw yesterday with Harden when he was 3% owned in the big stuff, and he dropped a 9 million point effort or whatever it was. So. I mean, all of them are the same. It's just a matter of what you like at the other players at each position, I think, more than anything. So, I mean.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think I actually got him 3rd, especially when you bring in salary into the equation too, because those guys are a bit cheaper. And I'm looking, and I know, the team is way different now when you take Durant out of the equation, but Paul's done okay against him. I mean, Westbrook, who's even with Durant, was like 40 fantasy point a night guy, but he has only hit over 40 fantasy points once in the last 13 matchups against the Clippers. Twice in the last 13 matchups. So, and only one of those times, he went for 55, 30, and 11. For the most part, Paul is a guy who's done pretty well against him. But again, I know circumstances are different. But, man, I was looking at 12K. The difference is that, in a 2v2 kind of swap with like 16K, and you've got a 12K guy and a 4K guy, it's just so hard for me to get behind Westbrook tonight. But we'll see where the build takes us here. Let's get some other value point guards here. Hoop, you and I were talking about Frazier before the podcast and how impressed we were by this guy. He did it again last night. Gets Memphis today, who just tanked yesterday's game, didn't play Conley or Gasol. You got to think both of those guys go today. What's your takeoff on Frazier? Still in play versus a pretty slow-paced Memphis team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Memphis, in the past few years has played at a really, really slow pace. Playing a little bit quicker this year, which is a boost for their opponents. And 5.5K, I mean, you consider the usage that he has right now in the Pelicans. I mean, it is him, it's Anthony Davis, and, one of those other guys, Cunningham or Hill will pop in with a decent game here and there. But it's Frazier, it's Anthony Davis, and 5.5K is just too cheap for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. On that. The other guy that pops for me in terms of value here, and I didn't have him last night on FanDuel, had him a bit on DraftKings. Sergio Rodriguez, Big T. This guy's at 5,100 going against Charlotte. It is the back end of a back-to-back, but you can't argue with what we've seen from him, both from the minute side of things, shot attempt-wise. He was been in double digits all 3 games this season, hit double-digit assists yesterday, and I think I fear the blowout here, but I don't know if that affects him too much. What do you think?
Yeah, he's looked awesome. I mean, a bunch of these Philadelphia guys out of the gate just have been really nice, and I like their young talent. I love him. I mean, it doesn't look like he's one of the top value plays on my list right now, just probably because of the back-to-back, but I like what he's doing out there, and I have no problem. I mean, going against Kemba, that doesn't scare me at all. So, yeah, I'm definitely on board.
Let's talk about Kemba Walker here, Hoop. 8.3K against the worst DVP in basketball. It's only been a handful of games, but I don't think anybody is looking at Philadelphia as a really tough matchup. He's been consistent, 33, 35, 37 fantasy points for him. But this feels like the game where, I would set his floor at maybe about 40 today. Are you worried about the blowout potential here with him and maybe other Charlotte guys? But 8,300, pretty moderate salary for a guy who should probably go off today.
Yeah, I think he's a super, super safe option. Not a huge fan of the price tag at 8.3K and the fact that there's probably a pretty decent chance this game does turn into a blowout. But even if it does go blowout status, I think he still gets his. Safe bet, I think, floor between 35 and 40, which is fine. But I think he'll be pretty low owned today when you factor in some of these values and the fact that there is a decent chance for a blowout here. So I'll likely pass, but I think fine tournament option.
Yeah, I think he's going to get low ownership too, because you got to think a lot of people are going to want to go Westbrook and then a crapper, because you have to pretty much if you're using a 12K guy. So I think those middle tier guys are going to be. What are you doing on a matchup with Lowry and Wall here, Big T? Is that something that's interesting you at all? Pretty high total, 203 we're sitting at right now. I think spread on this one's probably pretty tight. What do you think of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to pick on John Wall a ton, but Lowry's price, 7,400, is just super low for him. I mean, he should be in the 8K range, I think. But it is a tough matchup, so I don't know. I'm kind of off both these guys tonight. They're both pretty good defenders. They're both pretty similar. I mean, John Wall can't shoot too good, but Lowry can give him a little space to keep him in front with the speed. And I don't know. The point guard position is just so deep that, I mean, even Chris Paul up top with the 3K discount off Westbrook, I think I like him more than both of these guys just because Westbrook uses so much energy on offense that his defense has been terrible so far this year, in my opinion. So I like Chris Paul a little more. I love Conley in the mid-range too more than them. So I think I'm off of those two guys.
Yeah, I would love Conley and I actually probably feel all right about it because he didn't play last night, but that minutes restriction that he's kind of had is interesting. Now, he didn't really have it against Washington. He went for 40 fantasy points in 37 minutes that day. If I know he's going to get like 35 minutes, I like him at 6,600. His offensive game has been definitely, I don't know if it's improved or the new coach has kind of put more on his plate than they've done in the past. But you're right. That's a really nice salary today at 6,600. Hoop, anybody we didn't mention here? I mean, we do have probably a decently high total in Phoenix, with Phoenix and Portland. But again, we saw Portland play last night against Golden State pretty late last night. And I still think, man, that Suns team, they haven't figured it out. I mean, even last game when you took Devin Booker out of there, they're still playing way deep. I don't know. It's just a stay away from me. What do you think?
They have like good pieces too. I mean, I like some of the guys. TJ Warren's looked really good to start the year. Like, I'm really impressed with him. But they just don't look good. They look kind of lost, and they don't know how to really use their guys properly. So I think kind of have to avoid that squad. I mean, they look really, really bad. I'm pretty high on Lowry. That price tag is just too cheap, even in a less than ideal matchup. 7.4K, that's way too low. Total in that game's up there, 205. Spread is just at 1, so should be a decently high-scoring game and competitive. So I like him. I like Jeremy Lin, 6.5K. The main issue with the Nets is they're going to get blown out on a lot of occasions this season, and the playing time might be sporadic for some of these guys and hard to predict. But this is a game that should stay pretty close. Pistons on a second half of a back-to-back. I believe they're favored by maybe 4 in this game. So I like Lin at 6.5K too.
Yeah, Lin kind of burned me the other night. I mean, certainly the usage is there because they don't have a whole lot of offensive playmakers. But you're right, that blowout factor definitely in play. But at least Detroit played last night and then going on the road, so maybe there's a chance that one's a little bit tighter. Let's get to shooting guard today. Again, James Harden put up another monstrous game yesterday. I think 70 fantasy points, which is insane. It feels like we've had more 70 fantasy point games by guys this season than we usually have over a course of several months. But that's the way NBA is going, fast pace, and Harden fits what they're trying to do there. Nobody's going to argue, I think, that play today against New York, Hoop. I mean, he just does everything. 11-2. Yeah,
the total's 215. The spread is sitting at 1, so we're looking at a high-scoring game, competitive game. And, he's in a really good spot here. I just don't see anyone on the Knicks that has a chance of really slowing him down. I mean, Courtney Lee's certainly not going to be the answer. Carmelo can't do it. So he should have his way in this matchup. There's no doubt about it. Slight concern with the back-to-back, but nothing overly concerning. 11.2K, he's right up there. And I think Tony kind of hit it best when we were talking about these stars. I mean, they're all similar. I mean, Westbrook, Harden, Anthony Davis, they have similar ceilings. Their floors are pretty high too. So it just all comes down to roster construction. I mean, do you like the shooting guards? Typically, shooting guard's the worst position. Yeah. So locking in the guy with the highest floor might make sense. So implying that logic, maybe Harden's the guy you pay up for today.
Well, that's what I was going to get to next, Big T. I'm looking at shooting guard today, and we got DeMar DeRozan at a nice discount off of the salary on DeRozan. But the one thing we can certainly say is he's so scoring dependent. And have you seen his kind of shot attempts that he's at right now? It's insane. He's averaging like 25 shot attempts a game. I don't know if that's really sustainable for DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, he's getting so many shots. And he's hit 40 all 3 games in fantasy wise, but he's right in those low 40s, and that's getting 27 shots a game. So we need 40 to hit value, really, according to the 5X that most of us use or we would like to get. So if he's getting low 40s on 27 shots, I don't like my chances most nights of getting to that 40. So he's not going to be the type of guy I look at, especially against Washington. I mean, I consider Beal and Wall pretty good defenders, so I'm just not going to pick on him. He's pretty much completely off my list.
But that and the other guys that we have though, it's like McCollum on a back-to-back. We've got Oladipo, who's been a disappointment. Wade against potentially Avery Bradley defense. Bradley a little bit banged up, and the price is coming up. Batum in a blowout spot. There's not much here today at shooting guard, and I think that's going to kind of lead me to Harden on a lot more than some of the other guys. I mean, even Wes Matthews, who had a good game the other day, didn't practice yesterday and gets a horrible paced matchup against Utah. Like, sell me on somebody at shooting guard here because I'm not seeing much that I love.
I was going to bring up is KCP. I mean, I'm not much of a fan of his, but with the minutes and he's only 4,500 at a weak position, the game could blow out. But Detroit isn't the type of team that really blows teams out a ton. So if he's going to get 33 to 36 minutes or even more in his case, sometimes, I mean, 4,500 at a weak position. Coming off two pretty good games, he's pretty much a lock to me as of right now.
That's the one guy I was leaving out there because I'm with you. He's the one that I got kind of built in my shell lineups. And at that 4,500 hoop, that's kind of going to be what we need to spend at a lot of positions if we want to get these big name guys in. So he fits. Any other shooting guards for you that you kind of like?
Eric Gordon, I think, kind of stands out. He's 5.3K, gets you more exposure to that high total game there. Rodney Hood's an option at 5.7K. I agree with you guys on KCP. I mean, the minutes and opportunity. I mean, when you're essentially getting a guy at a punt price, close enough to punt, the minutes are going to be there, and he's a guy that they actually run plays for. So it's not like he's like a Courtney Lee that you're hoping, grabs a couple rebounds and assists and somehow, gets 5 shots to go in to hit value. They actually run plays for him. He's a guy that, could have, 12 to 15 shots at 4.5K and play 35 minutes. So that's key. So I like him. Those other guys. I think JJ Redick, I mean, man, it's frustrating, 4.4K, but shots just not falling right now. I've played him a couple times. I've watched the games. He's missing wide open threes. They're going to start falling. I think 4.4 is a little bit on the cheap end for him. So I like him. Outside of that, man, maybe Hollis Thompson. Keep an eye on him. He got a pretty decent boost with those guys out yesterday.
Yeah.
Played 28 minutes, was really active. I watched quite a bit of that game. So I think he's not a bad punt option there at 3.8K. And they're going to be thin again today. I'm assuming Ilyasova is not going to be available. I know Embiid's already been ruled out, and Okafor's on a minutes limit. So some of those minutes trickle to him, and 3.8K is a nice price on him.
Yeah, I think the Hollis Thompson game that we saw yesterday, a lot of us were thinking that was going to be the Robert Covington game. He was like 20% on DraftKings, and I was a little surprised to see his ownership at that level. I thought he was kind of maybe even a sneakier play, but he didn't do squat. He didn't score a freaking point. So good call on Thompson as a potential kind of punt option. All right, let's get to small forward here, fellas. And Tony, at the top, we get Jimmy Butler. And have you watched the Bulls much this year? Did we lose Tony?
Yeah.
Yes, we lost Tony.
Probably
okay.
Must have fallen asleep there.
I must have fallen asleep. The guy wins all the giblets, but can't get an internet connection that holds up during the podcast. Hoop, let's get into Jimmy Butler. Have you watched the Bulls?
Yeah, they look good.
Do they not? They look awesome. I love them.
They look good. They're hitting threes. They're playing good. I mean, the team seems to be flowing nicely. I mean, by far, I'm most impressed with the Bulls over any other team, I think, in the NBA at this point.
Yeah, I never really thought like Rondo would be the fit there that he has been, but it works. They play at a fast tempo, and I think that's something that Jimmy Butler likes to do. And I'm with you. The Bulls have been the most pleasant surprise. Now, maybe we should temper the enthusiasm a little bit. The last 2 games they've just destroyed both Indiana and Brooklyn. And you look at Butler's minutes, for example, 27 and 26 minutes in those games, and still reaching almost 30 fantasy points. When he gets those 37 minutes like we saw against Boston in the opener, he gives us 40. I think this 7.9, and we got Big T back, price tag on Jimmy Butler is pretty hard to pass up. What do you think, T?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler's always been one of my personal favorites. I just love how he plays the game, and I don't know if I necessarily like him at this price point. I would like it if we go more fair and balanced, but this year is just so hard, as we all know. With these stars just going bananas, it's tough to fit in these mid-range 7,500 to 9K type guys where it's just hard to get them in the roster construction, to be honest, because even if they get you like 35, 40 fantasy points right at value, you're having a hard time to make up for these stars.
You do, and that's where you've got to make your decision. I think he'll work today as long as I mean, you can't – I mean, I'll be curious to see if you guys think you can build a decent lineup with Harden and Davis. I just don't think you can.
My main issue with Jimmy Butler is just Melo. Like, Melo at 7,500 is just a way better play to me, so it's hard to play Butler.
What do you think, Hoop? Who do you like better between those two?
I like both. I think Butler. I mean, it's going to be a competitive game for the Bulls in Boston, like you alluded to. He's getting it done and really hasn't played the minutes. He's going to get the minutes, and in competitive games, he's a guy that'll be in the upper 30s. I like both guys quite a bit. I think Melo will be much more popular because of that matchup with the Rockets. So, I mean, both are certainly in play.
See, the total on that Rockets game is sitting at 215. The total on that Bulls game is at 210. So, yeah. It's not like that Bulls game is sitting in the low 200s there. And like we talked about, the Bulls are playing with pace this year. They are. When you put Rondo at point guard, they want to get up and down the court. They're not going to slow the pace down whatsoever. And I think that with I believe both these teams playing back-to-backs here with Knicks and Rockets, not too worried about, this Bulls team, not being able to put enough points up on the board. So, yeah, I don't know. I still think I'm in Team Butler over Anthony, but I think I'm with Hoop. I think it's close. What other small forwards interest you there, Big T? What you got?
I mean, we talked about T.J. Warren a little bit ago. He pops for me every day, especially against Portland. Like, he can just score the ball. Phoenix has so many good guards that are like the same player, so they're a little overloaded there. But they're weak in the front court, like wing players like Warren. I mean, they just don't have many guys like him that could score the ball from the perimeter, slashing in there and stuff. So, I mean, I love how he's looked. He was a great scorer in college, and he's kind of finally getting it going in the NBA level. Portland doesn't have anyone that scares me. I mean, Aminu's a pretty good wing defender, but I think Warren can score on pretty much anyone. So 5,500 is still a pretty good price for him.
Yeah, I agree. He stands out for me on the cheap end. I mean, do we stay away from Jay Crowder here at 6,100? He's been pretty good this year, Hoop, but might draw some Jimmy Butler defense. What do you think?
I think him and Marcus Morris are two just very safe type cash game plays. Wouldn't really play him in tournaments. I think, you're looking between a 20 to 35 fantasy point performance, and that's fine at their price tags. I think just both guys are just safe bets to land right in their own value at about 30. Wouldn't play the guys in tournaments. Like I said, the upside's just not big enough. So in cash games, if you're in this price range, not guys I'm building around, but if you kind of land in this price range at small forward, I'm fine with both those guys.
Any other tournament play that you like today? I mean, again, it's just not a whole lot of options, I think, for us today. I mean, Boyan's had his moments, but it's like every other game he's terrible.
One guy I'm looking at for tournaments-wise is Harrison Barnes. I know we don't like to pick on Utah. Everyone's scared of Utah. But with the ownership, I mean, he's going to be so low. He's too cheap. He's played 34 or more minutes all three games, 38 minutes the last two games. And they just gave him so much money that I think they're going to give him so much opportunity that I like him in tournaments. I wouldn't use him in cash games because he could get shut down pretty easy too. But with that kind of opportunity, I like his upside in tournaments.
I'm going to pass on Harrison Barnes everywhere with Dirk coming back, especially against Utah. What do you think, Hoop? Where else are you looking? Anywhere?
I like Covington for tournaments. The same opportunity is going to be there. Yeah, I mean, you look. I mean, the same opportunity as last night's going to be there. He's just not making shots. I mean, he scored 0 points and still got 17 fantasy points in 28 minutes. If he eventually starts getting the shots, the upside's there. So I
0
like
for
him.
his last 11 from the field,
Yeah.
0 free throw attempts.
Yeah, he can't hit. He still got 17 fantasy points and didn't score a freaking point last night in 28 minutes. He's going to have the chance to play if the shots start falling. I mean, he's a guy that we've seen. He can contribute in every single category. So I like him in tournaments a lot.
All right, let's get to power forward here. And Rashawn Holmes. Is he the guy today? I mean, we've got no Embiid, who, by the way, I've been really impressed with Embiid. Like, I watched that game last night, and dude's legit. Like, usage has been there for him. I think when he gets playing around 32 minutes a game consistently, he's going to be a really, really good player. But he's out. Okafor's limited. Holmes looks like the big guy that they're going to go to. I mean, he's not sexy at all in terms of upside, but, again, we want studs. We need under 4K guys. This guy is under 4K, really cheap today. What do you think, T?
I mean, it's kind of the same thing as yesterday. I was confused why everyone likes Holmes over Saric when they're like the same price, and Saric is a better player. I kind of like both of them again. So this is one reason I said Harden and Westbrook kind of for me, because this is a punt position, especially with Embiid out, where I could play Saric and Holmes, and I'm pretty sure I can get somewhere around 20 from both of them. I mean, maybe 35 to 40 combined from the two of them, especially with the minutes with Embiid out tonight. So I kind of like both of them in the cheap range.
Yeah, Sarch is at 3,900. Holmes is, 35? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to – I agree. I think there's more upside in Sarich. We also saw a game last night from him where, he did take 15 shots, made 9 of them. Didn't do much else, though, and
31 minutes, though. That 31 minutes pops.
That's for sure. Where do you go between those two, Hoop? Is it Sarge for you, too?
I think Holmes is the better, fantasy point producer per minute. I think that's why everyone kind of went to him yesterday. But if Sarge is going to play the more minutes and get more shots, it's darn close. I mean, Holmes is he's the stone minimum at 3.5K. Sarge is 3.9. You can't really argue against either of them. I mean, they're a lock to both play. 25 to 30 minutes at least, and they're the minimum. So, like Tony said, I mean, you're looking to essentially get. I mean, if you get 30 points out of those guys combined, 30 to 35, you're sitting all right.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Let's. Who else are we looking at here? On the high end, Anthony Davis is always good. Going against Memphis doesn't worry me too much. His usage is insane: 33%, 25, 40, and 45 his first 4 games. And Alvin Gentry, you got to remember, was an assistant for Golden State. The last few years too. So he likes to run that kind of up and down pace offense, and they're going to score a lot, but also give up a lot. Where else will we be looking on this pivot, though, here, Big T? What you got for us?
One more thing about Davis, too. Just like I said about Westbrook, he was 11K last game. Now he's 10-7 after he went for 67 fantasy points. Like, why are they lowering his price? It should be impossible.
Well, to be fair, the salaries came out before the 67, and he did have 29 in that game before that. So that's probably where that kind of decrease came. But he's still underpriced. He should be.
You're correct. I stand corrected. It makes sense now. So I appreciate the correction. But another guy I would look at it. I like Blake Griffin a lot. I mean, OKC is pretty solid up front, so I don't know if I'd pay 9K unless you're going fair and balanced in a tournament. And I mean, a fair and balanced team in a tournament could be an interesting way to go if you fade all 3 of those guys and somehow they don't go off. Like, you're going to have such a different roster that I like it. I'm not sure if it can work with the way this season's gone, but especially for the slam where you're going to put a bunch of teams in.
Yeah,
it's an interesting way to go.
Yeah, I'm not against it, too. I mean, and when we say go off, too, like, they can have 50 fantasy point days, and you can survive it fine. The question is whether or not we get one of those 70 burgers out there.
Yeah.
And those are the killers. When people have 70 or 80 fantasy point days and you don't have them, and especially when they're like, Davis yesterday on DraftKings, I think what I saw was 50% owned in that big bird tournament. And it's like, it's hard to overcome that because at that sort of ownership, somebody is going to kind of have the value plays that go off with it. But again, if they're around 50 or obviously 40s, you're fine with it. Like you can easily in a fair and balanced lineup make up with that. So that's kind of the perk of being able to multi-enter a little bit, is to be able to run variations in terms of the style of lineup you want to build.
We could open up a whole can of worms talking about it, but these multi-entry guys, with the way the NBA has started this season, I mean, the edge is just through the roof. Like, play 2 or 3 of these stars and just play every combo of value guy around them. And, I mean, I'll open up all kinds of controversy with it, but, man, you got a big edge so far this year.
I would say let's talk about this real quick. Multi-entry, what sport would you say you get the biggest advantage in, Hoop?
The way I think the way the NBA is going right now, it's the NBA. I mean, when you can get all the combinations of these guys that are just going for 70 fantasy points a night, and then you mix in all the values and mid tier. I mean, right now it has to be the NBA. So this is like really good for people. Like if you are a multi-entry person, or you build a lot of lineups, if you have to drop stakes to get to a point where you can max out, I think it's super valuable to do that. If you're somebody that typically plays in you play the $25 tournament on FanDuel and you only put like 4 or 5 entries in, and you're comfortable building more, drop down to the $10 and $5 and build as many lineups as you can, because you really, I mean, we've seen it. You just named off the guys that are winning in NBA, the clone. I mean, Calicor, Ganondorf. These guys are always at the top every single night. So if you need to drop down stakes to be able to put more lineups in, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing that.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I think that and it's been that way even for the last few years I've seen. A lot of those super sharp players, E. Hafners, obviously McJester, just feels like they're, for NBA, these guys they're on it, and they know the guys that are going to produce, and then they're able to kind of build their lineups accordingly through, multi-entry to basically, I don't say cover their bases, because they're still going in on guys. Like, let's face it, if Anthony Davis sprains an ankle, or Anthony Davis, like we saw a couple games ago, had 29 fantasy points, and you've got him in 80% of your lineups, you're probably not going to win. But more times than not, these guys are good at predicting when those guys are going to go off. And I totally agree with you. I think that's probably the biggest advantage we've seen out of the major sports is in hoops with multi-entry. Okay, let's get back to power forward here. Some of the other names. How about Tobias Harris here? Again, against Brooklyn, a team that's playing fast, and Harris is moderately priced here today at 6,200. And recent, game logs, he had 40 fantasy points against the Knicks last game. I guess 28, 29, 26 is not too impressive there, but the guy's jacking up double-digit shots, and I think what's going to be a pretty fast game. Don't hate Tobias Harris today. Again, more fair and balanced at that $6,200 spot. You ready for an under 4K punt nobody's talking about? I got one for you.
Absolutely.
That power forward. Frank the Tank. Yeah. Frank the Tank.
Gotta like Frank the Tank.
Gotta think so, too, because I don't think Hibbert's going to play. This game could easily be, over by the fourth quarter. And I think he's one of these guys who's, it doesn't matter whether it's a blowout or it's close. I think he's going to play. 3,900, throwing another one out there, Big T. Sounds like you're on board with that.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, there's so many cheap power forwards that I like. I mean, I talked about Lure yesterday, but I like him again. I mean, he got a bunch of minutes too, 26 minutes again last night. He's been right around that every game. And like we said, Kaminsky, I really like Frank the Tank. And then you got Saric, Holmes. I mean, even a guy like Nicholson has been getting pretty good run. I mean, he's cheap. So I'm really leaning towards Davis as being the guy I'm fading and just going cheap at power forward.
Let's throw Mirotic in there, too. If he gets over 30 minutes, it looks like McDermott might not play. He's in kind of concussion protocol. And 35 fantasy points in 24 minutes last game against Brooklyn. Had that dud against Indiana. And even in the opener against Boston, 24 fantasy points in 29 minutes isn't great, but it's not terrible at 4,900. I think he's an upside tournament play for us. Anybody we neglect to talk about here, Hoop, at power forward?
Yeah, I got a few more guys that I like a lot. I guess this position's pretty loaded. I agree on the Tobias Harris thing. If his floor, I mean, small sample size, but 4 games here, if his floor is going to be hovering around 27 and he flashed some 40 fantasy point upside last night, it's a good play at 6.2K. Safe, I think a safe option there. Like him, come down a little bit. I think Markieff Morris is in play. The minutes are certainly going to be there. He's gotten into foul trouble like the first 2 games. And still battled back and had sufficient performances. So like him, Marvin Williams is a guy that should be a lock without Hibbert to get around 30 minutes of playing time. This is a really good matchup, obviously, against the 76ers. Cantor is another guy I like a lot. 5K.
I don't know. Do we trust him? We trust those minutes with Cantor?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess this matchup fits with going against Blake and Jordan, but man, he's just been so inconsistent on those minutes.
Yeah, he got into foul trouble game 2. It was second game of the season, so that's why I only played like the 12 minutes. He came out just hacking immediately and picked up quite a few fouls. And then my boy,
3 fouls.
Yeah, and then my boy. Well, yeah, he got him really quick though, so he came right out of the game. Trevor Booker. I like Trevor Booker a lot, and I think moving forward, he's a guy that we can kind of trust. I mean, got blown out last game, only played 19 minutes, still managed to put up 20 fantasy points. So I like Booker.
All right, power forward, loaded. Let's get to center. And, the team with the highest total on the board today, we've not mentioned team total on the board today. We've not mentioned a single player from said team. Do you know who I'm talking about there, Mr. Big T?
The highest team total, and we haven't talked about anyone on the team. I mean, it would have to be Hawks. I would have thought Phoenix was the highest team, but it isn't Phoenix.
It's Atlanta, like the Hawks. That's right. Hoop was right.
Oh, yeah, because they're favored. I always look at just the overalls, and, yeah, they're favored by so many that I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
I mean, typically, I know you're a Vegas guy there, Big T. You love looking at the totals, and I know you've been on Dwight Howard a couple of times this year. What do you think about this matchup for?
I absolutely love Dwight this year, and he's come through for me in both times I've taken him. I think both home games, and they've looked pretty good. I mean, they've been pounding teams too. They beat Washington pretty good opening night, pounded Philly, and then gave it to Sacramento pretty good too. So I think the fit with Dwight is actually better than it was with Horford because they get kind of a big guy in the middle that can protect the rim a little bit, which they haven't had in past years. And I don't know if I love him tonight just because, again, he falls in that mid-range where it's kind of dead man's land for me because if I'm even close to being able to get up to all 3 stars, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you can fit 2, there's no way you're going to really be able to fit somebody like that in there, I wouldn't think, because you can just try to go up the rest of the way and get another one. So I have a hard time with it. But, yeah, if you're going fair and balanced, I love it.
Yeah, at least 3 blocks every game this year. Minutes-wise, 30, 19, and 30 for him, and shot, get this, 20 free throws last game, made 8 of them. So keep working on that there, Dwight.
That is not a DB-approved percentage.
Not at all. Not at all. I think obviously value is going to be there's a position people are going to go for value because of because of the studs that we got there, and you can do it today, Hoop. I mean, there's a handful of 5 4K guys that kind of fit the build today. So rank them out for me.
Yeah, just slightly above that. I think guys like Valanciunas and Gortat in that matchup, I think are interesting. But like you said, there's quite a few here below them. Steven Adams at 5K, probably too cheap for him. Would come down. I think Mason Plumlee's a fine play at 4.9K. Even guys like Tyson Chandler, 4.2K, like Tony was saying. If you want to try to get up for those big stars, settling on a guy like Chandler might be worth it. So. Those are some of the guys that kind of stand out to me there.
Can I talk you into Joakim Noah today?
I was just looking at him, and I'm actually surprised how good he's been the last 2 games. I watched both those games and didn't even realize it.
Yeah, he's obviously not going to score a lot, and maybe one of those days he'll just kind of somehow walk into 10 real-life points, and if he does, he's going to clearly – be in the mid-30s because here's a guy that, kind of running that triangle offense out there in New York. He's, I think he's going to see, assist numbers 8 and 7 for him in each of the last 2 games, 12 and 10. I mean, Porzingis is tall, but he does hover around the the 3-point line a lot. So offensive rebound wise, it's going to be Noah crashing the boards. At 4-6 in a tempo up game against Houston, I don't hate him. Don't hate him today.
It seems like a rough matchup for him, though, isn't it? I mean, playing up in pace. I don't know. Will his minutes get docked a little bit?
I mean, where are they going to go to?
Whoever's can actually move. Whoever's not slower than you.
I mean, I guess they could move Porzingis to the 5 and go that route, but I don't know. I think Noah will be fine. I mean, back end of the back-to-back's a little bit worrisome. But
those last 2 games and then being priced that cheap, I mean, you guys haven't talked about my favorite guy. I don't think you have, but Steven Adams just like is almost like a stone lock to me versus the Clippers. They need him in versus those bigs. He's 5K. He's going to play 35 to 40 minutes tonight. Like, he's basically a stone locked for me at center.
Yeah, and DeAndre Jordan, he gets the reputation of being this, defensive player of the year, but the reason he does that is because he leaves his man to go block shots. His man is wide open for dunks. So don't be afraid to play Steven Adams because DeAndre
That's Westbrook's favorite pass, too, that little drop-off for the dunk. That's like the only time he passes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Adams is like your cash game, plug and play, no question about it. I'm kind of trying to differentiate a little bit, but you're right. I mean, it's definitely Adams over Joakim Noah, but just throwing that one possibility out there if you want to differentiate. Which game you stacking tonight? If you're going to stack up a game, try to maybe go for some OT and take down this, $200K over on FanDuel tonight. What do you like, T?
If I'm stacking a game, I mean, it might be Atlanta and the Lakers, even though it's a big total.
What?
Just because of what you said. Like, no one's talking about it. It's going to be completely unowned. And it's up in pace. It's still 208. I mean, the highest total is 216.
Well, give me your guys that you're putting in your stack there. Like,
I think it's super easy to stack just because you got Russell. You got guys like Russell, Randall, Clarkson. The other side, you got Millsap, who's always like one of the highest upside guys at power forward. And, I mean, Millsap, Howard, Schroeder. I mean, there's a lot of guys you can put in a game stack.
I'm going to disagree on that. What do you think, Hoop?
Why do you disagree, though?
Because I don't think that game's going to be close. I mean, I don't see how –
Well, that's why it's a tournament game stack. It's not a cash game.
I know, but I mean, what's the likelihood that game runs into
it's
2 OTs and is competitive?
Of course, it could be somewhat close.
I mean, yeah, you're going to get 1% ownership on those guys, but I think if you're I don't know. I don't like that game stack at all. I'm not doing it. What do you think, Hoop? What do you like?
For me, the game that I think is most interesting, because if I'm going to stack up a game, I want to know where the minutes are going to go if the game's going to be close. And it's Chicago-Boston for me. High total, like you said, sneaky high total, right around, I think you said 210, and basically a pick 'em. And, I know the guys that are going to play the minutes in a competitive game. So I like this game as a sneaky under-the-radar stack.
All right. I guess I got to give mine if I dogged Big T on Lakers-Hawks. I think it's Knicks Rockets. I hate to be the super chalk here, but I think
cash game build is your secret little stack.
No, I mean no, because I'm telling you, like, what's Derrick Rose ownership going to be in tournaments today?
Well, it should be 0 because he's awful.
Okay, well, he's not. He's probably been more productive than D'Angelo Russell has been this year.
You're going to take Rose over D'Angelo Russell?
No, I'm just saying in a team stack, in a game stack format, I'll chalk it up with the highest total on the board and take guys like Anthony, Rose, Porzingis, Noah, who are relatively cheap, all those guys, and still be able to get a James Harden.
So Harden and Anthony, like 2 of the chalkiest players on the slate, are going to be in your stack.
You think Anthony's going to be chalk? Maybe he will.
He's free.
He's free, but you're going to – I don't think – I don't
know.
No,
it's 7,500 on.
Well, what's his ownership in the Slam tonight? Carmelo Anthony.
No, like 25.
That's not chalk. I mean,
25%.
25%. There's lots of guys. That's not chalk. Chalk is like over 30%.
Higher anyways. Like I haven't started like building rosters. I mean, he's free. 7,500.
Yeah, you got Jimmy Butler there. You're trying to save to get the other studs in. I don't know. I don't think he'll be higher than
Jimmy Butler over Melo.
I mean, 25% is believable. Like I think that's fine, but I don't think that's chalk. Chalk is for me, like 35 to 40% is chalk. Like Anthony Davis is chalk. James Harden is chalk. Russell Westbrook, that's chalk. Carmelo's not chalk.
So only 3 guys are chalk?
Yeah, pretty much. You don't agree?
Oh, I'm just sitting back enjoying the conversation here.
Hey, Hoop, did you see who won the play draft match this week?
I'm assuming you, because you win everything.
Well, it was pretty easy.
Look at that. Look at that random pot shot about play draft. Yeah, well, what have you won? 2 or 3 in a row now?
You know how many it's been.
All I know is the Siege hasn't won one.
The
yet,
Siege,
so
he hasn't even got a
second for his
place.
life. He's 0 for his life in our play draft. So
He hasn't even got a second place. He lives in third place.
We'll fire that up again tomorrow on Grinders Live at 3:30 if you haven't missed that. And we're going to be doing, you know what, Tony? We're going to be doing a special edition NBA version of that every now and then. Some 30-minute shows. So I'll invite you in to take some of your NBA giblets in that.
I can't. I love that. That's like one of my favorite shows of the week.
Yeah, everybody loves that
you
show.
guys got to get some stiffer competition. I mean, that's the deal.
Well, Hoop, that we have been known to issue challenges, so just be on the lookout on your have your cell phone with you.
Bucks. We need.
I would love to get some hoop bucks. Love to get some.
Tough to come by.
They taste good.
Tony does know. I can attest to that. Tony does know how they taste.
All right, that's going to kind of wrap us up for today. Again, good luck tonight over on FanDuel. Before I get out of here, I got to do my read, guys. I got to tell you about my friends over at Dollar Shave Club. Now, I will say this much. Hoop, do you even shave? You're the little baby face here. Like, I'm guessing like you don't even shave.
Not very often, I can tell you that much. Yeah, the facial hair doesn't grow very frequently for good old Hoop 2410.
Now, Big T, you're like me. You're the ginger. So, we still definitely have to shave. And if you haven't tried it with our friends at the Dollar Shave Club, well, guess what? They got a great deal going for you, which is going to give you your first month free when you try their club. Because you know what? You don't need to choose between price and quality when it comes down to getting an amazing and affordable shave. And basically, Dollar Shave Club, you should know by now what happens is they just deliver it right to your door. So it's one of those things that all the time whenever I go to the store, it's like, oh, when you need a razor, you don't have them. So basically, they'll give you fresh, updated razors every month right to your door. The quality is excellent. I would highly recommend using the Executive Blade over there. And I've moved on to shave butter, fellas. You guys are in your old shaving cream world. I've got the shave butter, but I'll warn you a little bit, Big T. Us gingers, it's sometimes hard to see where we need to shave, and the shave butter is kind of clear. So you're going to have to work on that a little bit. It took me a couple of shaves to figure it all out. But once I did, it's been giving me an extra day on my shave, and it feels wonderful. So if you want to look and smell and shave like $1 million without paying for it, Dollar Shave Club is the way to do it. So here's your chance to find out why over 3 million members like me love Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club is so confident in their quality of their products, you can get the first month of the club for free. Just pay shipping. After that, just a couple of bucks a month. No long-term commitments, no hidden fees, no reason not to do it. So get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/roto. That's dollarshaveclub.com/roto. Tony, dollarshaveclub.com/roto. Get on it. You've got for first month free, Tony.
I'm in. I mean, you sold me just on that ad talking about the little gel or whatever you had going on.
It's shave butter, buddy. It's shave butter. And looking at you on this hangout right now, you could use some.
Oh, trust me, I hate shaving, so I definitely need the butter.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap us up for today. Thanks so much for giving us a listen, download. Again, you can find this on iTunes and Stitcher. Tony and Hoop will be back with me on Friday as we hit up the big Friday NBA slate. Any comments, you can obviously leave them in the comment section. Again, please leave us a review over there on iTunes. Kind of helps the old ranking of the podcast, which is fabulous. And till next time, for Hoop and Tony, I'm Dan. Good luck this Wednesday night and DFS Hoops, and we will see ya.